Hello, peeps and creeps, and welcome to Fright Club. I'm Gav, he's Danny.
Hello.
We are the Fright Club and this is a brand new episode of Monday Night Frights. And on tonight's show, we're talking about the greatest comedy horror ever made.
It's so
Ghostbusters.
Bustin makes me feel good.
Hurt you.
What happened? Are you okay? He slimed me.
And we're back with another episode of Monday Night Frights. It's episode 3.9, talking about the amazing Ghostbusters. And as you can see, we're actually being joined by an actual Ghostbuster.
I got my Ghostbuster jumpsuit on.
Yes.
Obviously, lockdown, couldn't go out busting ghosts quite as much, so it's not quite fitting the way it should. But it's still, got my Ghostbuster patch, got my Ghostbuster name, ready to bust some ghosts. Because as I said at the start, busting makes me feel good.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
You've been
busting that song.
You've been busting something else.
Busting the zip on this boiler set. I'm telling you, boy.
Here, mate. All bond paid for. All bond paid for.
Aren't we?
So how excited are you to talk about this?
You know what? I rewatched it again today just to get everything fresh in my head, and I could never ever tire of this film. This is a film I don't get fed up of. Every time I watch it, I'm tickled by all the classic lines. There's wee things I forget, just wee details and stuff. And the cast, I mean, what an absolutely phenomenal cast. And then even reading up on like what could have been from this, like it's just something. And especially with, we've recently had the teaser for Ghostbusters Afterlife with the little mini Stay Puft Men. I'm excited because again, Ghostbusters and Paul Rudd together. Oh.
Yeah, it feels like a match made in heaven. Just Paul Rudd being in that franchise, it just feels right, doesn't it?
It feels so right. Like he definitely, I feel like he has a right to be with the Ghostbusters crew. I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come for Ghostbusters with that film. But we are here today to talk about the OG.
The original and best from 1984.
So good, man.
Directed by Ivan Reitman, who his son Jason is directing the new one, The Afterlife. And he had previously directed Stripes and Meatballs and sort of zany goofball type comedies before this, so he feels like he was perfect for the role.
It just, him and Ramis just together are absolute powerhouse. As I said, Stripes and all, like Stripes is great. And Groundhog Day and just all those there sort of movies that came out at that time, Animal House and because what was it? I think it was just after Animal House they were planning this.
Yeah, well, Reitman worked on Animal House. John Landis directed it. I think Reitman produced it. So there was obviously the connection there, and we'll get into it a little bit more. But John Belushi was supposed to star in this film before he sadly passed away, but we'll talk about it a little bit on down the episode. But yeah, so there was a big connection there between Aykroyd, Belushi, Reitman, and then Ramis came on a little bit later. But so when did you first see Ghostbusters?
I cannot honestly tell you.
It's always been in your head. It's always been there. Yeah, it has.
And even if you haven't seen the film, the song, I'm pretty sure every child, even like when we were in the car a wee while ago with Una's wee sisters, I don't think they've ever actually seen the Ghostbusters movie, but they knew every word to the song, or near enough every word, know. So I think it's one of those things where it's just that cemented, and the characters, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, the look, the jumpsuits and stuff. I think Ghostbusters is just it's a pop culture phenomenon that has just become so cemented within cinema history on a whole, not just horror and comedy, but over everything. That it just is a part. It's just a part of, I think, everybody's life. Have you ever met anybody who says they don't like Ghostbusters?
No.
I would be.
The second that they say that, I just go, okay, bye.
Well, that's the thing. You've never even had the opportunity to say that, because who doesn't like the Ghostbusters?
Well, there was a lot, obviously, recently with the reboot. There's been a lot of shit talked about online and stuff, and I didn't really want to take part in all that. And you
No.
know, there was a lot of things that were aimed at the actresses in that new movie, which
But again,
was completely
that was
uncalled for. Yeah,
that was the new movie. You know, I don't think you'd ever hear a bad word said against the original film, and I think that's what made the fans of the original film even more venomous towards that film. Because like I thought the first half of it was all right, and then the second half of it kind of felt like a Universal ride. I was kind of like, I would like my seat to move,
yeah.
and I'd be having a better time. You know, it was all just lights and flashing and music and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, eh.
Here, not wrong with Chris Hemsworth.
Not wrong with Chris Hemsworth. There's not wrong with any of the cast. I think all the cast are great, and the wee nods to the original Ghostbusters I thought were pretty well done. It's just a shame that final act just really did not do it for me. You know, it didn't have the same kind of I don't think it had the same spirit as the original film had. You know, but I definitely don't think it deserved it didn't deserve the hate it got.
No, not at all. I quite liked it. You know, it wasn't as good as the original, but you know, it's gonna have to be very, very good to beat the original. Oh, yeah. I actually saw the sequel first, so I saw Ghostbusters 2 first when it was released in 1989. That was the first film I ever saw in the cinema. But I can remember anyway. It was the first cinema experience of my life. I was 6 years old. It was in the old state cinema, so I remember not being able to really see the screen because it was kind of small. So I sat out on the aisle. Do you remember the old state cinema?
I remember where it was, but I don't
remember going to it. No. So whenever you opened the door, the ticket booth was here, and then you went up the big stairs up to the shop, and then whenever you went into the screens, there was only 2 screens. And you opened the doors, and you had to go down. You had to go down the steps, and then turn left or right to go into your seats. So it was actually a pretty cool setup, and you know, it was an old building, and it wasn't looked after or maintained, so it was pretty stinking. But it was quite a cool setup, and I remember just sitting in the center of the seats, or not the seats, the aisle.
Like everyone of a certain age has story. Like again, I was a bit too young to kind of get to go to that cinema, but everyone I speak to seems to have a certain movie they remember sitting watching in the aisle, sitting in there. Because one of the fellas I know, he saw the original Star Wars there, and he can remember it being that packed that they had to sit in the aisles and stuff. There always seems to be something about that old school cinema and sitting in the aisle. But Ghostbusters 2. I can't even remember. Ghostbusters 2, I can remember seeing a bit later in life. It's not one that I immediately jumped on after seeing the first film.
It definitely doesn't really hold up as good as the first movie. I still really enjoy it just because of the nostalgia. But yeah, it's not as good as the first one, but still brilliant, man. It's just seeing it on the big screen was great when I was a kid, and then obviously after that it was really kind of the animated show, the real Ghostbusters, which I was obsessed with. That got me into the whole franchise, and then went back and obviously watched the original movie. And I remember thinking, why is he going to not get yellow hair in the film? You know,
the big fucking Johnny Bravo style.
Yeah, because in the cartoon, obviously, had the bright yellow hair, and even Ray had kind of like really light gingery hair and that sort of stuff. And I was like, why is Slimer not their friend in the film? You know, talking about Slimer, we're being joined by Slimer tonight.
What? You got a Slimer?
I slushy Slimer. I slushied him.
Don't drink that. You'll get possessed.
It's a mad owl flavour. It's like a kind of...
I was going to say...
Mountain Dew type.
Hot dogs. Yeah, I just imagine Slimer just tastes like hot dogs.
It's all right. Like, it's in my bloodstream now, so fuck knows what will be happening later.
By the end of the show, you'll be bouncing off the ceiling and
just fucking going mad. But yeah, so sequel was the first one I saw. Animated series, got really into it, and then the first film obviously blew my mind, and I just never, I can't really remember not. Obviously, I hadn't seen it until after the second one, but I can't remember not knowing about it or not knowing that it existed, and just being completely blown away by it, and it just defined my childhood. It was always there. I just watched it so many times when I was a kid, and I absolutely adore it.
It absolutely just charms the socks off you. And like, there's some of the stuff, like, again, even watching it back today, like some of the humor and stuff, and the way, like, the way Venkman is with women and all.
Oh,
You're kind of
yeah,
like,
he's-
oh, he's a pig, but he's a charming pig, and I think Bill Murray has that way about him, like especially in a lot of those movies back when that and Stripes and Groundhog Day. He's very, he's just
He's a lovable creep, I suppose.
yeah,
in a
that's
way.
probably the
I
best
mean,
way to.
there's no real harm to him. Obviously, he's maybe a bit too much at times, but in this film, you see it when Dana is kind of like no, and then she's like, oh, she sort of comes around to him
Yeah,
a little bit, and you could do that kind of stuff back then.
well, that's it.
and
It was a
nobody-
different time. It was a
Oh,
different
different time,
It
boys.
was a different time.
That was a different time. So, yeah.
But
So,
it's still, the characters are also lovable, and they have their own wee way about them, and just absolute cracker lines from each and every member of that cast. And even like Ernie Hudson, like he comes into it quite late on, and I think sometimes people kind of forget, like he almost feels like an afterthought for some people. But no, he also gets some absolute fucking cracker lines, and he brings like a nice, interesting kind of religious element to the movie, which doesn't get explored until quite late on, which is why I enjoy. Like I think it's quite good that this is a horror movie that doesn't rely too much on religion. It's more about science. And I think that's really interesting. And then they do kind of bring that idea of spiritualism into it a bit later on. But how do you beat spiritualism? Hard science.
Oh, of course.
So I was watching it today, and I was just like, you know what, this film actually, this is a horror movie that doesn't use the crutch of spiritualism and religion to try and like defeat the baddie at the end. It sticks very much to these are scientists, and they're going to use their scientific methods to get the job done.
So brainchild of the great Dan Aykroyd.
Even though he's recently, the last couple of years with his Crystal Skull vodka being the ultimate healing alcohol and all that.
Oh, really?
Mad shit. Have you not seen his like?
I know he's got the vodka and all, but
yeah, he's got like a video. I think it's when he started kind of first doing it, and it's basically like him like promoting it, and he's just saying how it's got like healing powers and how the bottle is like specifically cut into a skull out of glass because it represents the healing power of the like whatever colony it's meant to be based on. It's like Mayan stuff.
Surely he's taking the piss. Dan
You would
Aykroyd must be taking the piss.
You'd like to think so, but see, when you're watching, you're a bit like, oh damn,
Oh,
what's
damn.
that? And sure, he went after anybody that started. Sure, there was a hot sauce company that started selling like their hot sauce in little skull bottles, and he was just like, no.
Right. He doesn't own skulls, like.
I know, but if you dare put any sort of liquid in a skull-shaped bottle, Dan Aykroyd will come after you with his cone head.
Yeah, we should do that just to get a bit of fucking, just to see if he can
just to get his
us.
attention, and then just be like, "You want to come on the show?
I know.
You want to come talk about Ghostbusters, please?
We only did it to get fucking noticed.
We only want your attention, Dan.
I know. I don't
please."
even care. I fucking love Dan Aykroyd.
I love him. I love fucking Blues Brothers, man. Blues Brothers is my shit. I fucking love checking out with Blues. But yeah, Blues Brothers, Coneheads,
Dragnet. Great in Dragnet. Oh man, he's just fucking brilliant. The Great Outdoors. Have you ever seen that? That's a weird one.
No, that's the most...
Nothing But Trouble. That's very weird. Like really weird and creepy, but very funny. Just legend.
Yeah,
absolutely comedy legend. And joined by another fucking even bigger comedy legend, if you can say that, the great Bill Murray, who wasn't supposed to be in the original script.
Nope.
Dan Aykroyd wrote the script with John Belushi in mind, two best friends, and actually Eddie Murphy was going to be cast. Going to be the third one, and I'm not quite sure what happened there. I assume because there was a period where they had to rewrite the script a few times and stuff, and time passed, and then Eddie must have went on to something else. But yeah, so John Belushi passed away, very sadly, and Aykroyd obviously he grieved and stuff, and then they were like, no, we have to keep going with this. So him and Reitman got Harold Ramis in to help rewrite the script. And originally, I think the original script was supposed to be more of a kind of historic thing where they were going to like travel through time and stuff. And
Yeah, I think was it not quite. I think Aykroyd has done interviews in the past where he says that the original script was more based on his Catholic upbringing, and it was
Yeah.
supposed to be a bit more spiritually than
Well,
than the scripted.
he was quite obsessed with like all that sort of stuff, and I think his dad had written a book about ghosts. I'm trying to see if I've written it down here. He wrote
Papa Aykroyd's.
I can't remember what it's called, but he wrote a book on like the ghosts and the history of ghosts and stuff. So
the
like
Healing Power of Crystal Skulls.
Yeah, Crystal Skulls. I wonder did he try and sue Steven Spielberg?
We should let's ask Steven. Let's get Steven on the phone. And
George Lucas as well.
Mr. Spielberg, what do you know about Crystal Skulls and Dan Aykroyd? And he'll be like, that bastard went for me.
Fucking Dan Aykroyd, you bastard. Yeah, so I think it was supposed to be a bigger thing in terms like they were traveling through space and time. It was going to be more. I keep
interdimensional.
I feel like it was going to be more like Bill and Ted type thing. Maybe I could be wrong there, but they decided to change the script.
Man, could you imagine like a Blues Brothers, Bill and Ted supernatural movie? Like, could you imagine what that would have been like with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, and then Eddie Murphy thrown in?
I know.
That would have been fucking great. I would have, if we could go back, if we could turn back time and stop John Belushi on that crazy night out that he had, and just been like, don't do what you want to do. Not that you would have probably listened to us, because you'd been like, who the fuck are you guys? And we'd show them a mobile phone and be like, technology.
I feel like there was nothing going to stop John Belushi.
No.
From dying young, he was just that. He was just a rock star. He was just that kind of person.
It's mental reading. I read Richard Pryor's autobiography, and he actually talks about he was supposed to have gone out that night with Belushi and Robin Williams, and I think it was De Niro. There was somebody else. There was another really random one. It was like Belushi and Williams. You were kind of like, okay, two comedians. And then I think it was somebody like De Niro or somebody like, I can't remember off the top of my head. But apparently like the three of them turned up at Pryor's house, and Richard Pryor was just like freebasing. And he was like, nah, I'm not going out. And that was, and that was it then. And he sort of said like, what if I had gone out that night with them, would I have ended up like Belushi and stuff? And you're just like, fuck, real heavy, really, and such a shame. Like, because what a fantastic, I mean, him and Blues Brothers, obviously, and Animal House, and he's just an absolute talent gone far too soon,
Yeah, it's crazy, man, crazy. But we'll never know how great he would have been, unfortunately. But budget time, Danny.
Budget time. I actually know the box office for this one. I actually did. I did a little looking earlier, but
Danny's been doing his own research.
I can't remember what the budget, the production budget was.
The production budget was vaguely 25 to 30 million.
Okay.
Do you want to draw up the box office?
Wasn't the box office about 30 million?
No, it was more than that.
More not. Maybe I read the wrong figure.
You must have read the budget. And
must have read the budget then.
Mm-hmm. The box office was about 300 million. Just under. I think it was about 290 something.
You'd be chuffed like.
Originally, when it was first released in 1984, it was one of only 3 or 4 films that grossed over 100 million. Now, I was supposed to write down the other films, and I was too busy and I forgot to write them down. So
you want to know?
Just pick 4 random films out from 1984.
Go to Twitter.
We might drop it down on our Twitter. We might do.
Maybe.
But yeah, so I mean, insanely successful film, especially when you think of like comedy, kind of gateway horror, zany comedy. How come this film has been so successful? It doesn't really. You wouldn't really think it would be, but it was and the reason was because of Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and the script was amazing.
The script's amazing.
And the support cast is amazing. The music's unreal.
The music is so.
Let's talk about the cast, because obviously, we've talked about Dan Aykroyd a little bit. Bill Murray, one of the greatest comedy actors of all time.
Superb.
Fantastic serious actor, but just a comedy genius. There's comedy timing. I don't think there's anyone out there that has the comedy timing. It just
comes off so naturally for him. Bill Murray always plays Bill Murray, but
Mm,
it doesn't matter because he does it so well. You know what I mean? Like if you're watching a Bill Murray movie, you're there to see Bill Murray be Bill Murray.
yeah.
And I think even in the likes of Lost in Translation and that, where he's not being quite as like hammed up,
He's still very
he
dry. And
still is
still,
really
yeah.
dry. Yeah, and in this, you know, he's so dry, but he can also be like absolutely, you know, when he's getting a bit hyper, he gets like a whole octave higher.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love when he kind of has those zany moments, and then he comes back down to earth, and he's just so dry.
One of the things that I think makes the film really work is, you know, Aykroyd's brilliant, Murray's great, but Harold Ramis, like,
Harold Ramis
man, that man
is just
an unsung hero of
and
so many movies.
again, him and this and Stripes and you know, he wrote Groundhog Day, and it just again what an absolute talent, who I imagine could have probably still gone on and could have been doing great stuff. Again, just gone too soon, and I really enjoyed I actually really liked the wee tribute to him in the Ghostbusters reboot. Just the bust in the university. I thought that was just really nice. I think that would have been something that he would have been like, yeah, no, that's just enough, because I think there had been talks about him making an appearance as a ghost.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he would have dug that. I don't know that he would have appreciated a CGI rendered ghost of himself saying spores, funguses, and molds. You know,
I mean, we'll never know, but yeah, obviously he was, him and Aykroyd were in the process of writing a reboot of some kind or a sequel or whatever, and it never surfaced because of his death, unfortunately. But I just think he's amazing as Egon, like so good, and it feels like he's not doing a lot, but what he does is just unreal, and the way that he says the dialogue, the way that his wee facial expressions are amazing, and he's the brains of the bunch. Bill Murray's the mouth, and Dan Aykroyd stunts. He's the heart of the Ghostbusters. So that's the way that I kind of look at it. And I was seeing an analogy recently about it being like the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. Sort of that kind of vibe to it.
Okay, yeah.
And then obviously whenever Zeddemore comes in, he's more like the spiritual type.
Yes.
And more so you were speaking about his, you know, the fact that he quotes the Bible a little bit and stuff like that. So just a great cast, brings the whole film together, and then you have the support cast, which is just like, fuck me, when you got someone like Rick Moranis as your support cast.
Rick Moranis is, and again, he's actually an uncredited writer on this as well.
He is, yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, he's involved a wee bit in the writing too, which I think is great.
Yeah, I was reading,
you can
actually
kind of tell his wee bits.
I was reading a wee bit about what the fuck did he write, but I think it was more his dialogue. A lot of his dialogue was just ad-libbed.
It's when he's sitting with a wee colander in his head, and he's coming out with the previous incarnations of Gozer, and it's just absolute, like, you couldn't repeat it off the top of your head what he says, but it's fucking hilarious, and you just know he's like going for it. And I imagine it probably took a lot for Ramis not to fucking just sit there and piss himself.
I know.
Like, I dare say there's probably a few texts out there
100%, man,
of him just pissing at whatever Moranis was saying.
I know for a fact that the scene when he's hosting the party and he's talking about, you know, obviously he's a
real estate?
He's an accountant. He does people's taxes and stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So he's a numbers man. But that whole monologue where he's going around the apartment talking about numbers and stuff, I think that was all ad-libbed. So I mean, that's just genius. What a legend Rick Moranis is.
He's just, again, someone who, due to tragic circumstances, had to step out of the limelight.
Yeah.
And it was nice. It was nice to see him kind of come back for that ad. And it would be great. Like, I definitely would embrace him coming back to cinema.
I was going to say, has it been confirmed if he's turning up in this? Because I know there was rumors. I feel like he will. I don't know.
Feeling. I don't know that it's confirmed, but yeah, it'd be great. Like, if he came back to play Lewis, I'd be chuffed. I know. Absolutely chuffed to see him again. Him and Janine together would be great, because they do end up together, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, they're in the sequel. Yeah, they're definitely.
Yeah.
And like Lewis Tully, one of the greatest sort of
So
side men, I suppose, if you'd say. He's not
Yeah.
really in the main cast, but one of the greatest side men in comedy history. What a great character he is. But I was reading that John Candy was originally supposed to be cast as the Lewis Tully character. I don't know if it was the exact same character. I would imagine it wasn't the same character.
I imagine it would have been very, very different because John Candy's too big for that role.
He's too
much of a like again. Rick Moranis has a personality, but it's not John Candy's personality.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, it would have been a very. I imagine more of a not quite so small snivelly accountant who's like listening at the door for the girl. He would have just been straight out waiting in the hallway waiting for the girl.
I think
Candy, you know.
I think Rick Moranis had a lot to do with obviously creating that character and making them like that. But I would imagine John Candy would have been more of his kind of planes, trains, automobiles type character. Yeah. Maybe very annoying, you know, noisy and sort of, you know, smelly and, you know, that kind of idea. Maybe that would have been his kind of take on the character, but that would have been really interesting.
Would have been interesting. I can't see it. I can't imagine it at all, but it would have been an interesting take. Again, there's so many you hear about because that group at that time just making all those movies and the movies they were all kind of doing together. You know, you can see sort of like how they would have interacted because of another film they worked on, like Stripes or something. So
well, obviously it was this whole Saturday Night Live crew, and then there was wasn't it Aykroyd and John Candy because they were Canadian. I can't remember what the Canadian version of what's it called? I can't remember, but I mean that's where Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara came from that show as well.
Yep.
I can't remember what it's called, but I mean legends, absolute fucking legends.
So good.
And they were all there at the same time, sort of doing the same thing, and so many great movies came out of that bunch of people.
Do you even get you don't get crowds like that really anymore? I suppose you've got like the Rat Pack, Will Ferrell and all them ones kind of stick around doing stuff together, but you don't get that kind of SNL still going, but you don't get that same kind of SNL, you know, National Lampoon
kind of breakout stars.
Yeah.
Not making big blockbuster movies anyway. Like they certainly do plenty of movies, but you don't really get that group that break out anymore. But I think the Will Ferrell, Steve Carell, you know, Paul Rudd, you know, Anchorman. Around that time, there was a few actors there, and they were kind of being compared to this group of actors that came out of Saturday Night Live and the Canadian version as well.
Yeah.
And they're great, but they're not quite Bill Murray or Dan Aykroyd or Harold Ramis. Not quite yet. We'll see where they go, but they're not there yet. Just
you never know. Paul Rudd's I think he's trying to definitely make his mark on it, especially now that he's managed to get into Ghostbusters and all. I love Paul Rudd, but what a cast! And now let's talk about the woman herself.
Yeah,
the queen of sci-fi.
We've forgotten about her.
We were just building up to it.
Sorry,
we were building up to our queen.
Yes.
The queen of sci-fi, the woman herself, Sigourney Weaver.
Miss Sigourney
Weaver.
We're not worthy.
We're not worthy. I fucking love Sigourney Weaver.
She's stunning. She's absolutely stunning in this as well.
And like even just to hear her voice, like in WALL-E, when you hear her voice go over the intercom on the ship that they're all on, I'm just like, there she is.
I know.
That's your woman.
She's got one of those like real kind of just heartwarming voices, like that just makes you feel like, oh, I'm home.
There she is. I know. And then even fucking Finding Dory, she's the voice of the aquarium. And just her and absolutely
Cabin in the Woods.
Everything.
We talked about her in Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
And like, of course, like one of the greatest films of all time. You know, Alien.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
the sequels as well.
How could we not mention her? Like that definitely is sort of, I think that cemented her in sci-fi queendom. Queendom? Is that a word?
Thing?
I don't know.
We just made it thing, so.
Yeah, it sounds right. She definitely, she is the queen of sci-fi. She's kicked aliens' asses. She's been kind of the devil. Was she the devil in Cabin in the Woods? Or just the agent of the devil?
Yeah.
Or, well, the elder gods, sorry. I I love at the end of Paul, the alien movie Paul, and she appears at the end of that too. She's just the kind of like add-in character now for stuff because fanboys like us just go, when we see her.
How can we get Sigourney Weaver in her film?
Oh my god, how can we get Sigourney Weaver on our show? Imagine we could get her here. I would just be like, please?
I would just be like, can you just talk for an hour and we'll just sit back and listen?
We'll just sit here and nod.
There's nothing that I can say that will be better than your voice.
Yeah, this is very true. But in Ghostbusters, again, another fucking fantastic performance. There are no poor performances in this movie, even from the wee characters throughout it. Like the secretary Janine and the librarians and the hotel manager that's not going to pay, and there's just it just isn't such a fun and well put together movie.
The fucking cunt Pecker.
Cunt Peck.
He's just
dickless.
He's got one of those faces you just want to punch
man him. Has no dick.
Fucking I hate him. He plays the role brilliant.
He's so good. Yep. Mm-hmm.
William Atherton. He's a dick in Die Hard as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's just got that sort of character where he's just always plays the cunt.
But absolutely, Rick Moranis and Sigourney Weaver getting to do Vince and Zool. Like,
man, I just think she's amazing. She's amazing anyway, but she's amazing as Dana. I just love the character. I love what she brought to the character, and I think originally the character of Dana was supposed to be like a model, and Sigourney was like, "No, let's make her a wee bit more sort of highbrow," and she wanted her to be a musician, and I think she brought a lot of her own ideas to the character as well.
Right.
And I'm going to blow your mind here. Right, because Gozer, brilliant character, not in it for very long, but just visually stunning looking, is played by the actress Slavica Jovan. Guess who was originally cast? You maybe already know this. I don't know. Guess who was originally cast as Gozer? You'll fucking
it was a man. It was a man.
It was a man, but guess.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I did know this, and it's. It was a special effects artist, was it not? Or somebody? No. And
this man, see if all the other people that were originally cast were in this movie, it'd be fucking mental.
It'd be weird. It'd be so different. It'd be so different. Oh my god! Not Pee Wee Herman.
Fucking Paul Rubens.
I'm Gozer.
Are you a god? Fucking hell! That would be unreal. Just he arrives on his bike.
Comes cycling down the steps.
Oh my god!
Oh my goodness!
It was not. It was Paul Rubens, the actor who plays Pee Wee Herman, not the actual character Pee Wee Herman. But still, that would be.
I would have been. But imagine what he would look like. As I imagine they wouldn't have made him look remotely like himself.
No,
I think they would have like prosthetic him up to fuck and made him creepy as hell. And again, it could have probably worked quite well. But no, having Gozer as they had Gozer was fantastic because she's so like just that tall, slender build of her, like looking down with those like big freaky eyes, and then doing her Palpatine fucking and shocking them, There you God, and you will die.
So good. And I will say
Powerful.
that, that's obviously it's a comedy movie. We're talking about a comedy film here, but it's very much a gateway horror for kids.
It's got some freaky moments, like the terror dogs are absolutely terrifying. Interesting fact about the terror dogs, they are actually based on gargoyles from a church in Philadelphia.
There you go. Danny, out dropping the facts.
Dropping some of that sweet Ghostbusters knowledge. But yeah, the terror dogs are terrifying. Some of the ghoulies, the taxi driver, Ghosty in particular, I think is a freaky deaky. And even the start of the film with the librarian, like when she you're like, oh, ghost of a librarian. She looks like a librarian. And then she like transforms and like, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Iconic.
Such a moment, and it just what a way to open the film. What a way to like just bring the good, because it's that there and they run out and then the Ghostbusters logo comes up. And you get the song, like you get
but
the fucking song. You get that Ray Park Jr. hit, absolute hit.
I know.
Um,
It does annoy me a little bit that, and it annoys me. That is not the theme. That is not the Ghostbusters theme.
no,
It is the Ghostbusters theme song.
yes, theme song. It's their theme song.
There is a theme in the movie that was written by Elmer Bernstein, and it's the fucking theme. So, and the score of the movie doesn't get enough love because everyone just remembers the song, which is a real shame.
Elmer Bernstein stuff, like, I mean, he worked on Airplane, and I think he worked on Animal House and all. So he obviously has like a working relationship with a lot of those guys. But did you also know he did in the full-length Thriller music video, the full-length one, the creepy bits of music that kind of bookend the main Thriller song was Elmer Bernstein. That was
Brilliant,
Elmer Bernstein did the spooky music.
Brilliant.
For Thriller. Absolutely fantastic. But talking about the soundtrack to this, have I ever told you that I met a junior orchestrator from this film? Now, he was a junior orchestrator at the time. He'd only just started his career in film orchestration. Patrick Russ, absolute gentleman, lovely fella. Prior to working on Ghostbusters, I've made a note here. He was uncredited for Ghostbusters. He'd only started out, and one of his main jobs in Ghostbusters was, the scene where Sigourney Weaver's coming out of practice and Bill Murray's walking along the edge of a fountain, and there's a really kind of nice, uplifting, kind of almost romantic kind of piece of music.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That was Patrick. Patrick orchestrated that, the music for that scene.
Is that not Dana's theme?
Yeah,
because I think it turns up later on, doesn't it, when she comes back?
I think it would. Is it just when she's kind of coming out of?
I think it's when she comes back. Yeah, it's a nice little. It's beautiful.
It's a real nice little uplifting bit of kind of romantic, but not too much. Like, it's not too like in your face romantic. It's just implied. But yes, Patrick orchestrated for that particular moment in the movie, and again, getting to kind of him talking to me about that and stuff was really nice. But prior to that, he'd actually went uncredited for working on Airplane, Friday the 13th, Part 3.
Wow.
The Black Cauldron, the Disney movie, that was actually his first credit, was orchestrating the Black Cauldron for Disney, and he was also uncredited for The Fox and the Hound for Disney as well. And he went on to do fucking loads of stuff from there. I think he worked on King Kong, the Peter Jackson King Kong. He worked on video game orchestration, like the Arkham Knight. Arkham Origins it was, and he also he's orchestrated for concerts such as Lady Gaga. So
awesome.
Yeah,
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this happened through our mutual friend, Mr. Tim Burton.
This did happen through our mutual friend, Mr. Tim Burton. Shout
out to Tim.
We love Big Tim.
We do.
Yes, it was one of the Cinemagic events. Patrick was over to discuss film music orchestration with like local schools and stuff. So again, I got to sort of tag along because it was during the Psycho Live concert events as well that were going on. And yeah, it was good crack. It was interesting, but yeah, getting to hear him kind of talk about working on Ghostbusters and that being kind of one of his first jobs.
Class.
I was like, that's fucking great.
Awesome, man. That's fucking great story. Thanks for sharing that, man. That's a beautiful piece of music, but I love music. I love obviously the theme, the dun 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 dun. It's very Haunted Mansion. It's got that real beautiful sort of scary haunted house feel to it.
It's spooky and playful.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it really works well. And I think that's why people are so charmed by this, because if the music had been too dark, people would have maybe been a bit more inclined to be like, oh, actually, this is a bit too spooky and maybe our kids shouldn't watch it. But there's that little playful hint of the music that just completely changes the whole kind of atmosphere. And it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
I think it's one of the greatest, maybe not one of the greatest scores, but it's one of my favorite and most enjoyable to listen to sometimes, because you said it, spooky and playful. I mean, that's the most perfect way that I can sum up this. And amazing score by Elmer Bernstein there. For anybody who wants to hear more about the score, I can't recommend this show enough. It's the soundtrack show by David W. Collins. he talks about the Ghostbusters score and the songs, and he goes into a lot of detail about what the themes are and what they mean, and why Elmer Bernstein created them. His whole podcast is amazing. It's called the Soundtrack.
Row.
It's called the Soundtrack Show, and I want you to go and listen to it after you watch this video. So please do that.
Let us know what you think of it in the comments below.
It's one of my favorite podcasts, so please go and listen to it. So Paul Rubens as Gozer, mental. Julia Roberts also auditioned as Dana. That would have been a strange
Another
one.
interesting.
I'm not sure how far she got in the audition process, but yeah, that could have been a very different movie if it was like Julia Roberts, Paul Rubens, John Candy, Eddie Murphy. Weird, man.
I can't see.
I think Eddie Murphy would have fit in perfectly.
Yeah, I think Eddie Murphy would have been great. I think alongside them all, but just I can't imagine what the dynamics and stuff would have been like. Like I feel, as you said earlier, the kind of dynamic we have with that ensemble works so well because they do have their wee, as you said, the mind, the mouth, the heart, and the soul. I don't know who Eddie Murphy would have been in that mix. It would have been two mouths, I
feel like, because I'm going to guess that Bill Murray was brought in after they already knew Eddie Murphy wasn't going to be there, because you couldn't have had Eddie Murphy and Bill Murphy fighting. I can't fucking speak today.
Murphy,
Eddie Murray and Bill Murphy. You couldn't have had them fighting, for screen time and dialogue, and because nobody, like, I don't care who you are, you don't beat Eddie Murphy.
No,
he's the mouth. He is the mouth.
Yeah, especially at that, like,
amazing.
at that time in his career,
early mid-80s. Fucking hell. That would have been mad, but yeah.
Imagine if they could just do, I don't know, make it now. If they could just make something like that.
I know, man. I know. Fuck.
Eddie Murphy's kind of making a wee bit of his Eddie.
Hello, Eddie. Fuck you, Eddie. Oh fuck! I love Eddie Murphy.
He's making a comeback.
Coming to America.
Dolomite.
Yeah.
Coming to America too.
I know, man.
It was okay. Dolomite
nice.
Was good. I enjoyed Dolomite. Actually, really enjoyed Dolomite. But yeah, I don't know. No, I the original Ghostbusters it is what it is, and I can't imagine anything else. Even with all these other like possibilities and casting and stuff, and as amazing as those people are, they wouldn't have made this film what it is.
I know. But originally it wasn't even supposed to be called Ghostbusters because, they wanted to call it that, but because the title was already owned, I think, by Universal, and this was being released by Columbia, they couldn't actually get the title officially until there was an executive who worked for Universal who had left, and when he left, he bought the title for $500,000, which is crazy money. Like, but he bought it. And then he went to work for Columbia, or he sold the title then to Columbia, and they were able to use it, which actually worked out well because they had already filmed scenes where they'd said Ghostbusters, and they were like, fuck, we really hope that we can get this title.
We better get that name.
I
wonder how much he sold the name for, if he paid $5,000 for it.
500,000.
500,000 for it. I wonder how much he then... Did he make his money back?
Oh god, I should have read it. I think he sold it as a part of like a percentage of the film's
which, to be fair,
revenue. Yeah,
he probably wrecked in after that.
He probably did. I don't know if that was just the box office or it was the marketing and stuff and the toys and all that stuff. Because like this film, I want to say, if you think that Jaws was the first kind of big blockbuster movie, and then Star Wars was the first big movie that had like a huge market in toys, I can't think of any movie other than Star Wars that had this amount of like toys and other things going on. Can you think of any other movies at this time? Obviously, I can't think
at that time.
Outside of Star Wars,
everything did go for the toy angle. Like, I mean, even Aliens, Terminator, RoboCop, they all did the toys. But they maybe didn't do as well as the toys. Yeah. And they didn't do... a lot of them actually did try for the cartoon as well. But none of them, I think, had the same hit like real Ghostbusters did. So yeah, I mean, bar Star Wars, I think Ghostbusters definitely did. They were able to hit the right market again because they were able to do cartoons really well. They were able to sell the toys really well, the lunchboxes, all the other merchandise and stuff. And I think there's that real appeal because even within the film itself, there's merchandising. Like there's a whole montage of them selling themselves.
Yeah.
So I think having that established within the movie universe really helps sell it in the real world.
That's a good shout, yeah.
So yeah, I think they probably just that alone gave them a real push in sales because people were like, oh, they're popular in the movie and they're popular in the real world, so I need to buy all the stuff. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm fucking sitting here in a fucking Ghostbusters boiler.
I know,
so
man.
you know.
I haven't gone around to get my own boiler suit yet, but
You have to do it, man. I mean, I've got like you're drinking Slimer. I've the Funko Pop Stay Puft Marshmallow Man downstairs, and you've got your what
you
is
bought
it?
me that, I think it's a wee Ecto.
Is it a wee Ecto one?
It's sitting down, but I'll maybe post a picture of it on Instagram or Twitter. And I've got a Gozer up here as well that you can't see. Nice. I've got a Gozer toy with opposable hands and heads.
You know, the one piece of merch that I'm raging I haven't got yet, but I will someday, is the Lego Ecto one. I really want the Lego Ecto one.
Come see your dad. I'll get you sorted. It's fucking amazing looking. Like it's.
Are you talking the big collector's one?
I'm talking the big one
that comes with the. I want the big collector's one.
The big one that it's not.
I do like the one that comes with the wee minifigures too.
Yeah.
You know. Just all of them. Really.
Get it on the list. Get it on Santa's list.
My Santa's list.
I know. Una, I love you. Will you buy me something?
Can I have the Lego Ecto one, please?
Please. I've been a good boy all year.
I've been awful good. I'll go with my boiler suit.
So, fucking hell. We're getting off topic there a little bit.
We are actually absolutely. We've been kind of just talking like all around.
I know.
This, but again, it's such an easy thing to talk about because it's not just the movie.
Yeah.
Like
it's a franchise. Yeah. It's this huge world that they created, and we were talking about the toys there. Most of the toy range and all the merchandise came from the animated show, The Real Ghostbusters, which I think was first aired in 1986. It ran for about 5 or 6 years. So obviously most of the merch came from that, but it just feels like it's all one. It doesn't feel separate.
I don't think a lot of people, bar the reboot, I don't think a lot of people do distinguish between the Ghostbusters. It's an entity of itself, you know, and I think a lot of the fans embody that. They kind of take everything that comes with Ghostbusters. And I mean, even the fact that there are Ghostbusting clubs out there where they collect like screen accurate props and they put them together and they have the full costumes that are made up of like the individual key fobs and painters' shoulder pad or elbow pads and the military surplus boots that they wore. And they have to be the exact, you know, amount of buckles and stuff. Yeah. And it's all the dedication from the fan base for this franchise.
Did you ever start collecting your proton pack parts or anything?
No, I would still like to get parts together. I dropped my pen. I would like to get like this finished, to get the full cosplay together for a Ghostbuster. But it turns out to be a Ghostbuster it's an expensive hobby.
I would imagine so. I mean, we looked into it a few years ago, whenever you first bought that, and I planned to get one too. And fuck, man,
still time, Gavin.
Oh, I'll do it eventually.
Because, as I said earlier, Bustin makes us feel good.
Oh yeah,
that was nominated for an Oscar, wasn't it?
I think it was.
It was. I'm sure it was. They were nominated the year it came out. They were nominated for Best Song and Visual Effects.
Visual effects, yeah, I'm sure they were. I think the visual effects was done by a guy called Richard Edlund, who had worked on Poltergeist.
Yes.
And you can sort of see a wee bit of correlation between the ghosts.
I love the visual effect for that, the blue screen, but the ghosts are in water, and he pulls them along by a piece of string in the water. What a simple
Genius,
but effective look.
Love all that fucking shit. Like, obsessed with all that shit.
So good. And Slimer's practical effects, again, big lovers of practical effects here. The practical
yes.
effects in this movie, again, you can tell the ghosts are CGI'd in, and the terror dogs are CGI'd in, and the gate.
What do you mean? That was a real dog.
It's just
that they got
it's not...
from fucking some random country, and it was rabies. They beat it and stuff, and they
shaved it and
I know.
Made his fangs more exposed. The practical effects are wonderful, but the CGI layering in is maybe not the most powerful. Hasn't held up too well, but it's still wonderful to watch.
I think for certainly for its time, it was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously now when you look, you can go, oh, I can tell, it's a different layer and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, but like I don't care, man. I love all that shit.
It's still wonderful. It's still absolutely wonderful.
I will say that we were talking about some of the spooky parts. When I was a kid, ghouls are scared the fucking shite out of me. But the thing that scared me the most was fucking Stay Puft.
Man,
I don't know why.
When
it was the big fucking eyes.
I look at everybody. Oh.
I know, and then the bit where he gets burned, and he's like,
I was literally about to say, see when he gets burned and he like hugs the building and all the fire shoots up from him. You're like, that's fucking would smell wonderful, but it's terrifying. Like absolutely terrifying.
It'd be like a big giant campfire.
Just it would smell so good, but it'd be.
You probably. I'm sure you have. Like I'm sure loads of people have seen the pictures and the footage, but obviously that was a miniature of him, and then there was I want to say there was 17 or 18 suits built where there was a guy in a suit as well, and my god, like just amazing stuff.
So
fucking love that shit.
It's so good. But could you imagine if, like, when it exploded? So it was fine, like at the end Stay Puft explodes and everybody kind of gets covered in marshmallow, but that's okay. But could you imagine if the marshmallow had stayed on fire and that molten marshmallow hit your skin? You would be fucked. Like that sticky goo on fire, like that would have been a very, very different ending if they had kept Stay Puft on fire. Everybody just running around with like sticky, flaming material on them. It's basically napalm.
I love the smell of marshmallow in the morning.
I love the smell of marshmallow in the morning.
But fuck, I always loved this movie because at the end of it, I was always like fucking frothing at the gash. Because all the marshmallow was everywhere, and you were just like, "That looks so nice." I just want to just reach in and get it. But
just get that
like
lovely, sweet marshmallow. I love that whole bit where Aykroyd's trying to explain himself. He's like, "Oh, I tried to remember something from my childhood, something that would never harm us." And Bill Murray's just like, "He's a sailor. We'll just get him a hooker, and he'll be fine."
This is New York. He'll be fine. We'll get him laid.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, talking about lines from this movie, like
the one-liners in this are cracker. Absolutely cracker.
There's so many that you just sometimes you just go in one ear and out the other because there's literally so many. Yep. So many iconic lines that you sort of forget that came from this movie. And that line's great. The line about Egon, who his hobby is he collects fungus. And
he's spores, molds, and funguses. I collect spores, molds, and funguses.
I know, amazing. And
then there's the dickless line. There's the dickless. This man has no dick.
For me, one of the best lines, and again, Harold Ramis, he delivers it so well. Whenever they're first in the ballroom, and they're about to open the trap. And Ray says, "Don't look at the trap."
Yep.
And Egon's like, "I looked at the trap, Ray."
I looked at the trap.
Just like doesn't even sound like it should be funny, but it was just the way he's so cool, the way he delivered it, and it was just amazing, and it just felt perfect. And I love Bill Murray. He slimed me. I love what other lines? So many great lines. Obviously, Lewis Tully's got great lines as well. He wrote
It's not even a line. There's a bit when they're all in the mayor's office and the priestess just walked in and he's like, don't quote me on this, but this is the end of days. And it's just Harold Ramis just looks over at him and he's just kind of like, and you can just tell he's a man of science and he's just like, fuck
up, just away fuck with your fucking bullshit, your Bible talk.
And it's cracker, and this that's one big Twinkie.
That's one bit, yeah.
That's one big Twinkie. Another great line. What was it? 35 foot long and however many pound Twinkie. So good. Amazing dialogue. And
aim for the flat top when they're trying to get Gozer.
Oh,
aim for
yeah.
the flat top. That's a great line. Oh man, so many great lines. Like, it's just such a amazingly written script.
Yep.
And obviously a lot of it is, you can tell, it's kind of ad-libbed.
It's just them bouncing off each other.
So perfect.
They all bounce off each other so well.
What's it? There's a line, I think, isn't it, when Lewis is having his party and he throws the thing into the dog, and then he hears the dog kind of roar, and he's like, "Who brought the dog?
Who brought the dog?"
Just before it jumps out. I just sound bites, man. Like, so many sound bites from this film.
Yep.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Classic. You know, one of the bits that I was watching it today, and I was kind of just like, I was loving it because I was like, oh, practical effects, really good practical effects. You know, when Dana first kind of turns and she falls into the seat, and then the like demon hands come up out of the seat and are like grabbing her. Well, there's one on the like juts up out of the left hand arm, and it's proper grabbing her ditty.
Is it?
Go back and watch it. Like, seriously, this hand, like little demon hand, is like, mah. And I was just like, bad demon hand.
Dirty.
Don't just grab people's ditty like
dirty
that.
Special effects boy.
Dirty special. I know some puppeteers under there just like, and you're just like, okay.
Fair play.
Just Scorny Weaver's there to grab a ditty. Yeah, I was just watching that, because again, what a mad scene. Like, she's just come back. What was it? She's come back to her apartment, or no, she's come back and she's meant to be going on a date, and she's getting ready and all, and then the spookies goings on happen. The door flings open, and Zool is waiting in the doorway, and the chair like turns around, and she's being held and groped by the demon hands, and then she just flies in, and it cuts away. Then what a moment! And then the next time we see her, she's wearing this curtain. It's like she's wearing this like orange curtain.
Just this
sarong.
It's always flowy and just amazing looking and very, very sexual, and like.
Yep. And Bill Murray's just like,
when I was a kid watching it, I didn't really think much of it, but you know, watching it kind of as you get older, and you're like, oh, Zool, oh, there is no Dana, there's only Zool. I know.
I love that when she does it in like her voice, and then she repeats it again, but it comes out in the guttural demon voice. What a great moment! And just the Bill Murray's like coolness through that whole scene, when he's just like, I got a real problem dealing with people who are possessed. It sounds like there's already two of you in there.
I was going to say the best line. She's like, I want you in me, and he's like, I think there's already at least two people in you, or two or three or something, whatever it is. But what a great line! But he's perfect in that whole scene. Like,
so good, such a movie. And then he calls up he calls up Ramis, and he's saying about, oh, I'm here with Zool, the gatekeeper. And Ramis just like, well, I think I've found her friend, the keymaster.
Yeah. I know, awesome names as well, the gatekeeper and keymaster.
What is it? It's Vince Cartho. Vince Cartho.
And then he rhymes off all his titles, and then you've got Zool, obviously, and then you have obviously Gozer the Destructor and the Gozerian, or you know, whatever you want to. I just love all the titles. I think it's so cool.
So it's such a good, and even when they explain like the whole like history of the architecture and all, and again, it's another thing that kind of, for me, I was like, yes, they did that because of their spiritualism, but they had to use architecture and math and you know, a scientific understanding to make that happen. I was just like, again, this is grounded in fact. You know,
it feels very real. Like the going back to what the original script was supposed to be, very sort of like over the top space and time through history, all that sort of stuff. And whenever they rewrote the script with Harold Ramis, they wanted to make it more real and grounded, which is why it's set in New York City and why it is kind of just set in real life. And I think that actually makes it way better.
And I think people are always going to pass it down to their children or younger people they know who haven't seen it, because it's so timeless.
It's timeless,
you know, and I know we sort of said like some of the like male attitudes and stuff are maybe a wee bit outdated, but they're still so like fun. They don't. It doesn't feel like you're like, oh, this doesn't feel right anymore, and I
Yeah.
shouldn't watch it anymore because of that. It's just a part of the character, but you can actually see when it comes down to it, that scene with Dana Zool. He's actually a decent fella. He's not going to take advantage,
Yeah.
which is, I think is a really redeeming thing for the character actually altogether in that moment. But yeah, Ghostbusters.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Danny, but it sort of kind of redeems him a little bit in the sense that he maybe was just being a wee bit cocky at the start, and he wasn't actually. He isn't actually creepy. He was just being a wee bit cocky. That's his character.
Yeah.
But you're right, man. It's timeless. Like, it's just generation to the next generation to the next generation. I'm so excited for the next movie, and I really hope it delivers. And I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will.
As I said, as long as it sort of carries that spirit of the first film, I think that's where the last reboot kind of lacked. Is I felt like it had all the right ingredients. Like, it had a really good ensemble cast. Like, I think all the ones that were in it did a good job with what they had. And the story was decent enough. It was basically sort of similar to the original film. It just lacked that same sort of spirit that the original had, which is a real shame. That final act, I was just like, I'm over this now. I'd rather this was the Universal ride and it was on some sort of roller coaster and the ghosts were flying at me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I need to rewatch it. I quite enjoyed it when I watched it, but it's been a while since I've seen it. But a couple of little facts as well. Obviously, Slimer is in the original film as just a random ghost who, has a very famous scene or famous sequence, and a very lovable ghost who returns in the animated.
Yes. Kind of becomes a bit of a pet.
He's basically their mascot, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, I started rewatching the real Ghostbusters, and basically the first episode, he's in it and he just lives with them.
Yeah.
And he's essentially their pet or mascot, as you said.
They kind of, because he's got that kind of cutesy voice in the cartoon that you had with, like, what do you call it, in He-Man and Thundercats. That kind of quirky.
That's what they're going for.
Like,
yeah. I think they're going for that sort of kind of sidekick. You're right. That's what they're going for. But it's weird because he was never called Slimer in Ghostbusters, so they kind of just made that name up. But he was actually referred to in the original movie as Onion Head. That's what they called him, Onion Head.
Little Onion Head.
So, man, I wish they just kept that name. Imagine they were like, hey, where's Onion Head today?
Where's Onion Head at?
Hello? Oh, he's eating burgers and fucking eating hot dogs.
Eating his hot dogs. I love that. I like that. I really like that scene where all the ghosts are kind of running riot through New York, and he's like in the hot dog cart, just like shoveling and doing his movie. And I love it. I love at the end of the film, it's him that flies in to the camera. And I like that kind of notion of, well, even though the film's over and it's a nice happy ending and they beat the big bad, they're not actually done with their job yet. They've still got ghosts to bust. So
I know.
I really like getting that wee moment of Slimer again at the end, or Onion Head at the end.
The ghost montage part's amazing, where they all escape and man, there's something about that film that when the music's playing and the ghosts are all going mad, causing havoc, and so nostalgic for me. Like, it just brings me right back to being a kid. And like, what's your favorite scenes in the film? If you have to narrow it down to like 2 or 3 scenes.
If I have to narrow it down to 2 or 3 scenes.
It's so hard, man.
You know what scene I really enjoy, and I just think it's really fantastic in terms of the effects, is when Dana the first time we kind of see her in her apartment, and the eggs start like cooking. They start like popping and then cooking on top of the countertop, and she opens up the fridge and you see the kind of gateway, the Goozer's gateway. I think that's a fantastic, like, I just remember, I think when I first seen the film and I seen that egg part happen, I was like, how did they do that? Like, how did that happen? Like, it blew my mind.
Crazy. And I love that when she opens the fridge. That was another part that was fucking terrifying. And you first see the dog.
Yeah.
And then he opens his mouth and he says Zul, and then the light comes out of his mouth. Like, that was fucking scary, man.
Yep. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, as a kid watching that, fucking hell.
What a moment. And
Hello.
yeah, that for me, I think sort of one of the moments I really remember from like early on watching it was just being like, how did that happen? How did they do that? And I love I really love the set. I love the Ghostbusters firehouse.
Amazing.
What an amazing set. And again, it's such an iconic kind of spot now for New York and for film history. And it's seen in other movies. I mean, it's in The Mask. It's the scene where the mask goes in to take on the guys who have been like messing with his car, or they won't repair his car or something on time, and he gets the two big exhausts. And he shoves up their holes. But that's the same. The mechanics
building,
is the same building. And yeah, just what a fantastic, and the whole when they're going in to like see it and they're saying about it's a real fixer upper, and it basically is like a building from a quarantine zone, and Aykroyd comes sliding. Does the fire pole still work? He comes sliding down. He's like, "We'll take it.
We gotta take this."
Yeah, so good.
He's like, "This place is amazing." So I love.
He's such
Aykroyd.
a big Wayne. He's such a big Wayne.
We called him, what did we call him? The heart of the group, and he's so enthusiastic like all the time. He's just fucking brilliant. One of my favorite scenes, probably the Slimer sequence.
Yeah,
as soon as they go in,
Aykroyd with the cigarette hanging from his lip. Just for
years and years, I tried to like make that happen. I used to always do that because I used to smoke. So I used to always let when I was smoking the cigarettes, I used to always let it hang out, and that was from that scene. And I used to always see if people knew what I was referencing from that scene.
Well, you just sitting there in the smoking area, like.
I don't know, just to see how long I could hang it there for. But the whole sequence with Slimer's amazing. Like just because it that's their first proper job. I know they meet a ghost before, but or they don't call them. Well, they do call them ghosts, but they call them full torso apparitions. Yes, full torso. I love the scientific names for them. The way they talk about all the kind of spooky shit.
I know we put it on the Instagram, but just so we can make proper reference to the scientific terminology.
Yes, that's the book.
Tobin's Spirit Guide, Ghostbuster edition.
You see,
for all your apparition needs. Got a proper Ghostbuster and stuff.
Oh yes, definitely.
You got your class 6 transdimensional, your class 7 semi-corporeal. I
was watching an episode of The Real Ghostbusters the other day. I think it was actually only the second or third episode, but they had a class 10.
Oh,
so there you go.
A big bad.
He was a big boy. Aye, a big fucking bad boy.
I'm trying to. There he is.
Fucking massive.
The Green Ghost, aka Slimer.
There he is, legend. Onion
There's
head.
the man himself.
Onion head. Yeah,
class.
Yeah. But that's the one. This is the one that proper scared me. A class 3 corporeal.
The taxi driver.
The taxi man. Yeah.
That's the one. That was the one that I remember always.
Brilliant.
He gave me a good spooping
on
his way.
That looked like it was actually like a puppet. It wasn't a CGI or anything. It looked like it was actually a puppet because the way he moves and then his eyes move and stuff. So it was kind of like an animatronic.
Yeah.
But love the Slimer sequence. Love Gozer, all that sequence. I love the scene when Venkman first goes to Dana's apartment to check it, and he's walking around. He's being all cocky, and he's like, "Oh yeah, live here on your own." And he's got that weird spray thing.
Yeah.
Which, what was that? It's just spraying.
I was sure she asked him, she's like, what is that? And she's like, do you even know how to use it properly?
I know. And then he does that wee thing where he goes on the keys, the pianos. They hate that. Yeah. Just love his whole cockiness.
So it's the bit when
good, man.
That scene where he opens the fridge and he's like, "You eat this," and then he like opens a crock pot and he kind of turns his face a bit like, "Oh," and just wee things like as you say, it's the wee kind of subtleties that chances are he probably was just winging it, like he was just playing along the whole time.
Definitely.
What a movie! It's really, you know what? It's really hard to kind of just narrow it down to a few favorite scenes.
Do you know what? I think my favorite scene in the whole movie is maybe not my absolute favorite, but the one that just when I was watching it the other night, I just was getting goosebumps. The very first scene in the library.
Yeah,
you get the wee old librarian walking, lifting her books, and like I just love that wee old woman. She's from Ace Ventura as well. She's Ray Finkel's mum, which I rewatched recently as well. But she's lifting the books, and just as she goes around the corner, and you see all the wee things coming out, and the books moving, and the music playing in the background. That sort of what is it? It's like a theremin. It's actually I think it's a keyboard, but it's supposed to sound like a theremin. But it's that whole woo sort of stuff, and it's just so good, so good. And then obviously you get to see the actual ghost at the end when they come in, and iconic. Talk about iconic images from films.
Again, great moment. All the index cards flying out and stuff. Fantastic.
And when Venkman goes by and he gets the goo.
Yeah.
And it's such a small thing, but when he walks away and he starts rubbing it on the books, like that stuck with me for years, and just little things like that just stuck with me for so long, and I love that opening scene. What a great fucking way to film the film.
Great way to open the movie. Absolutely fantastic way to open the film. Ghostbusters, man.
I know.
I only watched it today. I definitely if someone said, if I go down now and then it goes, do you want to watch Ghostbusters? I'd be like,
100%, man.
Let's
100%. But the song which we spoke about being, one of the greatest theme songs from movies. There's a wee bit of controversy surrounding that because he basically stole the riff or the bass line or whatever it is from Huey Lewis and the News.
Yeah.
I think it happened because they used one of Huey Lewis's songs as like a placeholder, just to kind of get a theme and get the sort of the beats of the scene. And then whenever they went to Ray Parker Jr. to record it, he basically just went, "Oh, can you do something like this?" And he was like, "I'll basically do the same then." And he recorded the same kind of bass line. It was a wee bit different apparently. It's exactly the same. But anyway, so yeah, really iconic song. And it's one of those things you sort of listen to it today, and it's really hard not to tap your feet to it or to just be like, "Oh, I'm back there watching that film."
You just have to. You have
brilliant,
to,
man.
You have to join in. Like I think, as I said, like even in the car with his wee sisters and all, don't think they've seen the film, but they still sang along to the song. Everybody sings along to the song, and anybody who tuts when that song comes on can just get out. Fuck out. Yep, exactly.
I know.
To be fair, people should let us know in the comments. Do you know somebody who doesn't like Ghostbusters? Is there anyone out there who doesn't like Ghostbusters?
Oh, I'm sure there's somebody.
Oh, there's bound to be at least
for
one
some
person.
reason.
But you know what?
The ghosts weren't real enough. That would never happen.
We get to the generation now who don't appreciate the finer old school CGI details of life.
No, I know. But is there anything else we want to talk about? I think we pretty much talked about. Oh, do you know what? There's another great scene. Sorry, I wanted to mention this scene.
Go on.
The scene at the very start when Venkman's doing the test, and he's got the guy again. Man, this is just an image that's in my head. And if I seen that actor in another movie, I would go, "That's the guy from Ghostbusters." The guy with the big hair, and he's got that real sort of nervous face, and then the girl who's quite an attractive young woman, and obviously Venkman's playing him, and he's playing up to her because he fancies her. And he keeps buzzing him. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh man, no man." And he runs off and he's like, "You can keep your $5."
Yeah. It's the bit but it's even the bit when the fella gets it right, he's like, "Oh, it's like wavy lines." And Venkman's just like, No.
Class,
and he said to the girl, he's like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. And then when the guy runs off, he's like, people are going to treat you like that sometimes when you got a gift like yours. And he's trying to get in there, and then Aykroyd busts in. And it's just, I love it. It's the way Bill Murray in that moment where he's just all hyped up and annoyed. And he's like, I'm working here. And he kind of does this like funny little slap jump. Just what a movie of just moments. Just great. We set up moments the whole way through it with fantastic dialogue and great characterization. And the story is so solid and well put together. And, you know, and it's not even like the whole idea of the story is guys catch ghosts. Storage containment unit has too many ghosts. The government has to somehow get involved through the environmental agency. The environment. And then it just all hell breaks loose because the government has to get involved in some way. And it's just such a solid story, and it's not even that long a film.
No.
And it just chef's kiss. Beautiful.
Kiss. We'll leave it at that. Chef's kiss. That's our review. I don't think you can get any better than that.
No.
It is one of the most perfect comedy horror films out there. I know we've bigged up Shaun of the Dead quite a lot.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get there.
In previous episodes, we'll get there at some point. We've already spoken about Beetlejuice. We did an episode of Beetlejuice, which again, is one of the films that stuck with me from a childhood that I still love and adore. We spoke about Gremlins before. Yes. We'll probably do The Burbs. We've spoken about The Burbs before.
I would definitely up for doing The Burbs.
We haven't done an episode, but we'll get there eventually. And these are the films that defined my childhood, and they stuck with me, and I still love them. And I can put them on anytime and just be like, this scene amazing, this scene amazing.
It's a real comfort thing, and I think especially like around, well, any time of the year. They are an any time of the year movie, but Halloween especially, like when you want like a nice, comfortable, like it's kind of autumnal weather outside. You make yourself like a nice cup of tea or coffee, and you just sit and you watch like your comfort comedy
childhood movies.
Yeah, you're just like, this is what I needed.
Anyway, that's all we have time for this week. Let us know in the comments what you think about Ghostbusters.
Yes. Do you love it as much as we do?
Obviously you do.
Of course.
And let us know if you're excited about the new one starring Paul Rudd. As always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Fright Club NI. Check out the website www.thefrightclubni.com. Buy a t-shirt, buy a patch. Watch all the other episodes that we have on there. Check out some of the articles and interviews. And Danny,
to like, comment, and subscribe. Over here, down there.
I actually think the bell is down here. I thought the bell was up there, but it's down here.
Like, comment, subscribe, bell. Hit all the buttons. Just hit
all the buttons.
Not the thumbs down.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up all the way.
If you like our episodes, go through them and hit the thumbs up.
Give us one up.
Tell all your horror pals about us.
Yeah.
And follow us on the socials. Big us up. And hopefully we can keep doing this for free, and we can keep growing and keep having a bit of crack.
And having a good ganch about.
Having a good old ganch, because we're a couple of jolly ganchers.
Jolly ganchers, bye.
So anyway, until next week, stay safe. Take care. All the best, guys.
Bye. Bustin makes me feel good.
Feel the call. See you later, guys. All the best.